Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're tuning in from. This is the third Facebook Live video that we've done. And so we're going to keep doing these. I know I get off on tangents, going in different directions and stuff, and I'll continue to do that because, quite frankly, that's just who I am. I get off on tangents, go in different directions, and that's who I'm going to be, and I can't change that. So I want to make sure you guys understand. I got lots of questions, lots of messages last week after the video on Friday. And so what I want to make sure everybody understands is that please ask me questions. Please make comments in the chat box on here because I think everybody can see those comments and stuff. If you're the first time on here, great. If you've been on the last couple of times, that's great as well. But I want to make sure you guys understand we're going to be talking about more specific subjects as we do these. You will see as we go through these, obviously, we're going to spend a lot of time with sales. We're going to spend a lot of time with real estate. We'll spend a lot of times with entrepreneurship and communication. I think it's valuable to understand, hey, Brooke, how are you doing? And I know some of you guys are going to say, you're going to keep doing that. Yes, I am, because that's how I interact. I constantly am interacting with people, so I want to make sure that the Canadians very well represented this morning. That's good. I want to make sure that you guys know that this is interactive, that there's going to be this interaction as we go through this. And so last week, what I finished off with was remembering names. And I know we had a number of people on the live feed, and I was remembering where everybody was from. And I got some questions about how did I do that. And I think if you look behind me, you'll see what I call the 3 L's: listen, lead, and link. A good buddy of mine and I came up with this in the last few weeks or so. His name is Sam Musa. Some of you guys know who Sam is. He's a fellow Canadian, by the way. So for my Canadians on there, Sam and I were talking about putting together some sales systems. And one of the things we came up with was you got to have all these cool things, acronyms and stuff to remember different things. And one of the things that Sam came up with, so I'm going to give him 100% of the credit on this, is let's call it the 3 L's: listen, lead, and link. Because I think one of the things that we talk about with sales or we miss talking about with sales, and as I told you guys the other day, every one of us is in sales every day that we're out there. Every time we're talking to our family, our friends, every time we're talking to our kids, if you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking to. Every time our kids talk to us, even if they're 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, they're already trying to sell us what they want. And so it's imperative we start to see the exact same things. The most important thing with sales, in my opinion, and I've been doing this now for a long time, is going to be listening. Listen, listen, listen. Good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should do them in that ratio. So I think it's important that we're always listening. If it's a customer that you're talking to, they'll tell you exactly what they want. But unless you're listening to them, you'll never understand what they want. And I can give you all kinds of examples, all kinds of examples. And I was talking about a story. And for those of you guys, and most of you guys on here probably know what I've been doing for the last number of years. And many of you guys got into a program that I sold you. And Baz is on here. He was on the other side of the table with me selling those programs to people. And those programs cost anywhere from $1,500 up to basically $50,000 or $60,000. So these are large ticket items. And I was sitting down with a lady in Phoenix, Arizona about a year ago. And this is why it's so important to listen, because I wasn't the one that was supposed to sit with her. One of my other team members was supposed to sit with her. That's just how the process worked. I was the presenter from the front of the room. And so what happened was she said, I really want to talk to Pip. So at one of the breaks, I sat down and I talked to her. And her name was Nancy, I believe. And so I'm sitting down talking to Nancy. Nancy is my age or a little bit older. For some of you, that's really old. For other people on the phone, Mitzi, that's really young, depending on how old you are to start with. And so the point is, she's going to be happy that I said that. And so the point is, it doesn't matter how old it is, how old somebody is. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of who I was talking to. So I'm talking to Nancy. And as I'm talking to Nancy, we're looking at a price sheet that has prices on it anywhere from $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on it. And she says to me, she says, Pip, I'm really interested in all the material. I said, well, Nancy, can you tell me, what have you enjoyed about the training over the last 2 days? This was on a Saturday night. And she said to me, she said, Pip, I've loved everything. The content has been great. All the concepts, the scripts that you've given us, all the material, the strategy. She said, I see how this is just a really good program to be involved with. I said, well, then how can I help you? And so what am I doing? I'm listening. I'm not trying to push anything down her throat. I'm listening to her in this process. And I said to her, I said, well, how can I help you? She said, well, Pip, I just don't think it's the right time for me. I said, so Nancy, you're telling me it's not the right time of the year. It's not, what's going on? Why is it not the right time? She said, I just don't think I have time to do this right now. I said, okay, Nancy, that's very understandable. I said, Nancy, can I ask you a question? So what am I doing? I'm getting permission to ask her more questions. So I want to continue to ask questions in each and every bit of this. So as I am asking questions, Stefan Gagné, are you from Ottawa or, now I'm going off on tangents again, Ottawa or right across the border? I can't think of the name of the town. And if you ask me, correct me if I'm wrong, Stefan, if were you a dealer at a casino when I met you probably 5 years ago? And I know some of you guys are going to go, what in the heck is he talking about right now? This is all going to fall back into, so Stefan, help me out here. If I'm incorrect, that's completely fine. I'm not saying I'm going to be perfect, but I think I met Stefan in Ottawa, and I think you're from Gatineau, and I met you about 5 years ago, and you're a dealer at a casino. If you correct me if I'm wrong, just let me know, Stefan. If I'm wrong, that's fine. Mike, awesome, very cool. I got some new people on here today. This is awesome. And so, Stefan, please let me know if I'm correct with that. And if I don't see it on the feed, let me know. And so, he may not even, awesome. So, was I correct on, and is it 4 or 5 years ago, Stefan, maybe 2015, 2016, and you're a dealer at a casino? Correct me if I'm wrong on those. And I know some guys are going, where's he going with this? With everything I'm talking about, this is what it comes down to. So this is why it's so important. So back to Nancy. So as I was talking to Nancy, what did she tell me? She said it wasn't the right time. So that's what I heard. But I know when I'm looking at her, I'm reading a different answer, because what did she just told me? Oh, I loved everything about this. This is a great product. This is a great thing. All these different things. She's telling me she loves it. So if somebody loves something, generally not the right time is not a great objection. So I said to her, I said, Nancy, can I ask you a question? So what am I doing? I'm getting permission. I'm listening to it. Man, it's been 7 years ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago, my friend. And so what's interesting about that is I'm getting information from her, but I'm listening to her. I'm not trying to push my product on her. I'm trying to get information from her, because she's going to tell me how to sell her. So I said, Nancy, these prices, and I'm paraphrasing the prices. Some of the guys on the phone know exactly what I'm talking, or on the call know exactly what I'm talking about. So Baz, I said, it goes 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 on the sheet. So Nancy, let me ask you a question. If I change the prices to 1,000, if these four prices on here weren't 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, or 40,000, if they were 500, 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000, I said, would you do a package right now? She said, yeah. I said, so then it's not a time question, is it, Nancy? It's a money question, isn't it? So when you dig down like that, she's the one telling me, yeah, it's a money problem. I said, well, Nancy, financially, are you not able to do any of these? She said, actually, financially, we could probably do any one of those. And I said, well, Nancy, you just said we. You're here by yourself for the last 2 days. Who else is helping you make this decision? She said, my husband. And I said, well, is he going to be able to come at all this week? And he said, well, he's going to be here tomorrow, but he doesn't want to spend that kind of money. I said, I completely understand, Nancy. Completely understand that. So Nancy, tomorrow when your husband gets here, he's going to hear a lot of great information, a lot of great value. Nancy, if you think there's some value with what I have to say, I'd like to talk to you and your husband before you leave tomorrow. She said, great. I said, Nancy, what I also want you to do tonight, you just told me that you value what we're teaching you here this weekend. Thank you for the $20. You're welcome, Mike. I appreciate that. And so what is interesting about this is that, and now I'm completely off on a tangent. And so what's interesting, but you're the stock guy, if I remember, Mike. You're even older than I am, I think. And so what's interesting about this is that when Nancy said to me, you know, we are making this decision and her husband's not there. And so Nancy has to go home and talk to her husband. I said, Nancy, what I want you to do tonight is you go home and you talk to your husband. And when you guys talk, I want you to talk, what's the most amount of money that you would be okay making a decision on this weekend? Because if you don't have urgency in your life, nothing's going to change. And I said, before you even answer me, I'm not here. I don't want to cause a divorce. I don't want to get in between you and your husband in any way. But I want you to know that we have things that we can do to continue to help you move forward for $1,500. For $1,500, not $15,000, not $30,000, but $1,500. And if you guys find value tomorrow, when you come in and you find value before you leave tomorrow night, come talk to me, because if nothing else, I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn why you made a decision to do what you did instead of making a decision what I think might be best for you. Because I'm constantly learning. I'm not pushing it on them. I'm learning from them. And so what's interesting is she comes back on Sunday with her husband. This is out in Phoenix, Arizona. Her husband is from Australia. Well, guess what? I've been to Australia many times. Now, Nick, you don't all have a story for everything. I get that. But do I need a story to talk to Stefan up there? Stefan, let me think about that. I met him 7 years ago. He told me when I shook his hand and said hello that he was a dealer at a casino. And, these were his issues. And so I remember that. And it's not because I'm smart. There's a lot of people on this call will tell you I'm not that smart, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I do is I care. And when you care, you will spend time learning about people. Think about that. I have a brother. I'll give you an example. My brother loved sports when he was growing up. His name is Steve. He won't be on here because he's not on social media whatsoever. My sister will appreciate the story. My brother was totally into sports his whole life. Loved sports, everything to do with sports. One of the biggest Husker fans you'll ever meet. Well, Steve has 3 kids. He has twin boys, very intelligent guys, but not real good athletes. He has a daughter who's a few years younger. She's not into sports either, but what she is into is beauty pageants. And maybe that's the wrong way to say it, and I hope it doesn't sound wrong, Sarah. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. But these beauty pageants is what she's in. My brother would have laughed about beauty pageants if you would have talked to him when he was in his teens, his 20s, and his early 30s. But guess what? When his daughter got interested, what did he start to do? He started to care. He started to care about beauty pageants, and he became the best beauty pageant dad you'll ever see. He was actually keeping scores, and I went to one of these beauty pageants, and he's out there like you would in a basketball or a football game. He's keeping scores about what he thinks is going to happen throughout this event. And he was spot on most everything that he had. And the point was, he did not like beauty pageants until what? Somebody that he loved, his daughter Sarah, cared about it. So people aren't going to like you. They're not going to care as much about your product until they know that you care about them. And how do you care about them? It's the first L. It's listen. Listen to what they're saying. Let them talk. Let them tell you how they want to be sold, and they will tell you 99.9% of the time how they want to be sold. Give them value, and they'll tell you how they want to be sold. So I think what's so important, going back to my story with Nancy, she came in on Sunday with her husband from Australia. Of course, I can link it. That's the L. The third L here, link it. I can link it back to the fact, hey, I've been to Australia many times. Where are you from? His name was John. John, where are you from? Oh, Brisbane. I've been to Brisbane. My whole family's been to Brisbane, actually. We went to the Gold Coast there. So whatever you can do to have a story, to be a part of that, we're going to talk about stories as one of these trainings as well. But what I want you guys to think about is anything you can do to link yourself back to those people. And you don't have to do it in a salesy way. Ask questions. Where are you from? Well, what did you do in Australia? What brought you to the U.S.? These were all the questions I asked him. And I wasn't talking about me. I was asking him about him. Then what did I do? I led him to where I wanted to link him, which was, hey, I've been to Australia. I taught this class in Australia many times. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you need to be able to do. Listen is the first and foremost important thing. Because if you're not listening, you're not going to make any changes there. So check this out. Watch this. This is pretty cool. This is, I think, the coolest part of the story with Nancy. Nancy and her husband, John and Nancy, what they did is they ended up buying a $1,500 training package from us. And that was great. That's what they wanted to part with when they were there, when I saw them at that time. I tell everybody, I don't care what you buy from me, you're going to get 100% support. I'm going to be there to answer every question you got whenever you got it, no matter what. So what I want you guys to think about is making sure that you're listening to your customers. They got what they wanted, but I also supported them. I think on Friday, if you were on this call on Friday, I said there were 10 very important things about selling. The first 5 are listen, 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 listen. The first 5 are listen. Guess what the second 5 are? Support, 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 support. If you listen and you support, people will do whatever they need to do to come back and buy more products from you. People will do whatever they need to do to make sure that you're getting what you need in life. Help other people get what they want. You're going to get everything that you want. I guarantee it. So John and Nancy bought this package, a small $1,500. Guess what? I did exactly what I told them I was going to do. I'm going to be there to answer every question you got. It doesn't matter whether somebody sends $1,500 or $50,000. You're there to support them. You don't, if you're in the jewelry business, you don't care if somebody bought a $100 ring or a $10,000 ring. If there's a problem with the ring, you're going to support them. We had a grocery store. We had a 200% guarantee with that. Did some people abuse that process? Yeah. I had customers that would take their milk out on a 100-degree day, leave it in their car for 3 days, and then come back and say, oh, the milk is spoiled. Well, it's going to be when you have it at 100 degrees. It's going to happen. And so, but you still take care of them. And my sister's on this call, and I think there's so many stories that I could tell about that. We had a customer, and I can't even remember her name. My sister may remember who I'm talking about because I think it was one of her people that she knew in town. She was new to the town. She came to the grocery store. Guess what she didn't have? She rang the groceries up. Guess what she didn't have? She didn't have her wallet, didn't have her credit cards, a check, whatever she was paying with, no cash. And the cashier at the time, because this is exactly what we taught people to do, well, you just tell you what, just sign this ticket right here. We got to sign the ticket that you owe us $82.70 or whatever the number is. Take your groceries home, come back, and pay us. She's like, you're going to let me walk out of the store with $80 worth of groceries and come back and pay you? We said, yeah. Why? Because one of the biggest things we have to do is trust. I think the saddest thing that we have in our country, in our world today, is lack of trust. If Mike says he's going to do something for me, I trust that he's going to do it, and I'm going to trust it until he proves me wrong. As long as he says, Pip, I'm going to give you that $20 back when I see you next time, I trust that he's going to do it. Now, whether he does it or not is not the point. What I'm trying to say is I trust when people say things to me. Why do I trust when people say things to me? Is because I want them to trust me when I say things. And how do people trust you? Is you deliver on what you promise. So go back to Nancy and John. They bought $1,500 worth of a training package. I supported them, answered every question they possibly had. They couldn't believe. Nancy couldn't believe I answered all those questions. And what's funny about this is that, and I don't know how many months later it was, they went back to another training that our company was offering. I wasn't the trainer there, but the company that we contracted for then sold them a $30,000 training package. Why did they do that? I still have it if you need it. Thanks, Mike. Why did those people buy a $30,000 training package then? Because we over-delivered on what we sold them the first time. If you want people to come back, over-deliver on whatever it is you're selling them. They'll come back and back. And what will they also do? The same thing I'm going to tell everybody on this call to do. Share this with other people. Let them know that there's value here. My goal is to have a complete library of Facebook Live videos, and I think we're going to take this out to Zoom so you can watch it with Zoom or with Facebook Live. The reason why I want to do that, I would like to do more on a Zoom model, is because I can see you guys, and I can see Mike holding up his $20 bill if that's what he wants me to do. I want to be able to see you guys when we're doing this. Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate that. I was at the end of the training, and the support they still got from. Well, and Glenn, that is so cool. Glenn is involved with a company, and I want you guys, and I know I'll mess this up, so Glenn can put it in the chat if he wants to. And and I'm trying to make sure I get it right because I know that it's not .com in the UK. Glenn lives in the UK. You still live in the UK, don't you, Glenn? You're originally from New Zealand, I know. But what's interesting, go to a website called yourfreedomempire.co dot no .uk no .uk.co no it's .co.uk. Glenn, correct? Put that in there, Glenn. If you could put that website in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. There's some really great people, Glenn and Haley and her husband Paul, that work over there. And I just want to make sure that I shout out the people that support me because I want to support them. So Glenn, put that in the chat because I can't remember. I know I always say it's .uk.co or .co.uk. It's a different thing. So thanks, Glenn. I appreciate that. And so I want to make sure that I'm supporting the people that support me. So that's really what it comes down to. And so go back to Nancy. Go back to her husband, John. They got everything they possibly could for the money they spent, and they said, you know what, we're going to spend more because these guys are people of their word. And so you can find all kinds of negativity about things out there in the world, but find the positive stuff in people. I did not make any more commission on that sales that they did 6 months later. But what I did is I helped get a satisfied customer. And if you can help get satisfied customers, that's going to go a long way because here's the problem. We live in a society right now. We live in a society where it's instantaneous comments. Everybody has their phone out from a camera standpoint. So everybody is a photographer. Everybody's a reporter today. And so I find it interesting because I don't do this. And I never taught my daughter to do this. My oldest daughter, Riley, every time she wants to do something, she goes online and looks at all. Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate that, my friend. She goes online, and what she does is she looks at all the reviews. Now, obviously, you can't please everybody all the time. But what you can do is you can focus on the people that you're supposed to be taking care of. And if you take care of them to the best of your ability, even if they don't like the product. I've been to restaurants where the food wasn't very good, but the service was impeccable. And guess what? I would give that place a great review. Why? Because it's how they make you feel. Yeah, you'd love to have I know you've all been to restaurants where the food was really good, but the service stinks. You probably remember the service more than you do the food. People tend to focus on the negative, but we need to remember the positive. Martin Foster. Oh my gosh. That is this is so cool to see people that I haven't seen in a long time. And so the point thing that I want to make is we're going to be talking so much about sales. What I want you guys to do is keep sharing these videos with people because I think there's great value, content out there. And I think a lot of times the sales training that I've seen in my life, and I've seen tons of sales training, is all forced on, let's talk about the closers. How are we going to close these people? How are we going to close these people? My friend Dan Shaker, who's on this probably right now, when he gets asked, he says, how do you feel about your closing? How do you feel about your closing techniques? He goes, they're suspect at best, but my opening is legendary. Get people to remember you. Get people to remember you. It is so important to do that by listening to them. Get to know them. Pay attention. Our next video that I'm going to talk about is shaking hands. I know we're in a COVID world, so I'm not sure how to do it with an elbow bump, but I think we're going to go back to a point where we're shaking some hands. And so it's just, unfortunately, like it or not, it's a habit that people have. So we're going to shake hands again. It may be 6 months or a year before we're shaking many hands, but we're going to shake some hands. And I can share with you so much about just a handshake. I would literally go around a room of 20, 30, 50, 100 people and try to shake everybody's hand. You know why I would shake everybody's hand? Because I can tell something about you and your personality, at least at that point in time, when you shake my hand, how you shake my hand, where your hands just turned, those kinds of things. Do you look me in the eye? And so what we always want to do is have that physical presence with us. And part of it is the handshake. We're going to talk more about that on our next Facebook Live. But most importantly, what I want you guys to think about, you are legendary. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. And so what I want you guys to think about is what are some of those things that you can do to listen for? Listen to the keys that somebody gives you when you're talking to them. They'll tell you. They'll tell you. Even if somebody tells you about their political views, they're telling you about how they want to be sold. If somebody tells you about their spiritual views, they're telling you how they want to be sold. If somebody tells you what they do for a living, guess what? They're telling you how you want to be sold. I did stand-up comedy for quite a while, and I always got comments from people. And I want you to think about this. This has been the last thing I talk about today. Man, I always think these things are going to go like 10 or 15 minutes, and they go way longer than that. And I haven't even done much interaction with the group, so I appreciate that. And so what I think is interesting, what I think is so interesting here is that I watched a lot of comedians over the years. And if you've been to a comedy show or watched one on TV, and you see a comedian who is working the audience, and he or she, as the comedian, asks the question to the audience, and they say something to the effect of, what do you do for a living? And don't be greedy. Love it, Mike. Don't be stupid either, right, Mike? And so the point being is, when a comedian goes out into the audience, and they go, what do you do for a living? Somebody says they do something, and the comedian instantaneously says something funny. And you're sitting in the audience, you're watching it on TV going, God, this person is brilliant. How can they think so quickly? I get in front of a group of people and I freeze up. That's what most people say. And so what I think you need to understand is that it's not off the top of their head. I did stand-up comedy, and every one of those guys and ladies that would work the audience, some comedians don't work the audience. Some people, that's their entire act. Some of you guys are old enough, Mike, you're old enough to remember Don Rickles. That guy could work an audience better than anybody I've ever seen. And so the point being is this. When they would ask the question, what do you do for a living? Guess what? There's probably about, I'm going to say 80% of the people are going to list one of 20 or 30 different jobs. They're going to say, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, whatever that is. And I guarantee the comedian has already written a response that's going to be funny to any of those traditional jobs. If somebody does something that's already different, Peter, I didn't see, all the way from Canada, Don Rickles. Well, you're old enough to remember Don Rickles. That's awesome. He was amazing. And so the point is, they've already prepared. They've already prepared. And why would they prepare? Because they knew that 80% of the jobs were going to be, they already have a response for. The other 20% are going to be funny just because they're different. And so even though they look like they're a magician and they're just making this stuff off the top of their head, it's completely prepared. It's so important in sales to be prepared. What does that mean? That means listening, taking good notes. So we need to understand, we live in a world that is very tech savvy. As soon as you talk to somebody, put all your notes down about that person. But also understand that everybody's going to do a review of you instantaneously. So don't ever give them ammunition. Don't ever give them ammunition to want to knock you down. I do not know why anybody would get up in front of a group of people that they want to sell. They want to sell them something. And within however many minutes talk about politics. Because what's going to happen instantaneously? You're going to divide your room just like that. I have my political opinions, but quite frankly, if I'm selling you something, those don't matter. What I'm trying to do is help you get from where you're at to where you want to be. If my politics is going to help you do that, I guess that's fine, but I don't think that's what's going to help you get to where you want to be. I saw Peter this morning. He was doing a Facebook Live. Peter, I'm going to shout you out here because you need to be. He's trying to raise some money to do, I believe it's an assisted living facility for vets. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter. And so why am I saying that? Because what Peter's doing is coming from the heart. And he's not talking about politics. He's talking about vets needing a place to live in older age. And he wants to provide that. And he's entered a contest to raise some money to do that. So I think that's pretty cool. Peter, I apologize if I messed that up, but I just saw the video a few hours ago. So I think it's imperative you guys understand you care. You listen. And I know some of you guys are going, why are you bringing that up about Peter's deal? Because I watched it this morning. I think if I say that to Peter, he's going to realize I do really care about what I saw. I didn't just click a like and move on. I actually watched it. I didn't know Peter was going to be on this today, but I remembered it. Why did I remember it? Because You care about people. You listen. So many people hear, but they don't listen. So if I could give you a challenge before we do our next Facebook Live on Wednesday, we're going to do Wednesday. Don't know exactly the time frame yet. There's never a perfect time because I got people in the UK right now. What is it? Probably 6:30 in the evening for some of those guys, Martin and Glenn and some of the other people. And so what I want you guys to think about is how can you listen better? And this is in every facet of your life. It can be with your spouse, your kids, your faith. It can be in sales or business. It can be with coworkers, whatever it is. It can be with waiters, service people, things like that. If you listen more instead of trying to just get your point across, you'll be amazed what comes back to you. We live in a circle in this world, and what comes around goes around. So start listening, start caring about what other people say, and try to remember those things. And somebody said, how do you remember names? It's all about association. It's all about association. I don't generally, I guess occasionally you find somebody that has a name and they look like a certain person that you already know. Okay? So obviously you can do it that way. I do it through associations of words or other, of names more than anything, I should say. Let's say it this way. Why do you remember your family's name? Why do you remember names of kids that you had in school? 2nd grade, 5th grade, 10th grade, whatever. Why do you remember that? You heard it over and over and over again and you got association with it. Brooke is on this or was on this call earlier today. I don't know that many Brooks. So when I see Brooke is, and Brooke, I'm not making fun of you, but you are short, Asian background. Who do I think of when I see Brooke? I think of Brooke Shields. Physically, they don't look at all alike. I'm guessing Brooke Shields might be a foot taller than Brooke Shang. And I'm not making fun of Brooke when I say this, but what I'm saying is I see the name Brooke Shields, what I think of, so that's what I remember because that's a famous person. Brooke Shields was in lots of movies when I was growing up. When I see Peter, I can't pronounce his last name to save my life. I have no idea how to pronounce it. I'd probably be wrong even if I tried. But when I see Peter's name, first thing I think is Peter Brady because I remember that. That's what I remember. Have not yet met a Gilligan, and I watched a lot of those reruns as well. But it's so easy to just take whatever name you see and try to put it with something from childhood. Try to put it with something from childhood. And if you can do that, you'll remember it a lot easier. Because we remember stuff that we heard when we were 10 years old and 15 years old. Why? Because it was repeated after us many, many times. Why do I remember Peter Brady from the Brady Bunch? Because I watched that show over and over and over and over again. Peter Pomakatz, or however he says his last name that's on here. Apologize, Peter. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I don't think of his last name. I just think of Peter Brady and think, oh, I can remember Peter. So if I saw Peter in a restaurant in wherever right now, I could go up to him and know his name just like that. Because you start associating things. I mean, you remember faces. How many times have you said, oh, I remember his face, but I can't remember their name? Your mind loves to remember pictures. They don't like to remember words. It's harder to remember the words. That's what I've been told. And so I think it's imperative you just start associating whatever name it is you want to remember with somebody that you already, and it doesn't have to be a brother, a sister. I mean, it's really not hard for me to remember the name Mitzi because most people, that's their dog's name. It's my sister's name. But why do I remember that is because it's my sister's name, and anytime I hear the word Mitzi, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an easy one to remember. I was teaching, and Dan will appreciate this. I met a student down in Orlando, I believe is where I met her. Her name is Dorothy. Well, guess what? It has nothing to do with the Wizard of Oz. It has everything to do with my mom was named Dorothy. So I'll never forget Dorothy's name. Pernew is her last name, as long as I live, because it's just easy to do that way. It's so easy when you start thinking of things. Now, where I find it to be tough with names is names that I did not grow up with. When I see a name, I saw Baz on here earlier. Harpal is Baz's first name. Not that he ever used it, but it's a name I've seen on name tags and in trainings over the years, Harpal. That's a hard name for me to remember because I didn't grow up with anybody named Harpal. I know it's shocking, but there was nobody in Nebraska City named Harpal. And so you have to do a better way, you have to do a better job of just repeating that name. One last thing I want to give you about names. The best way to remember them is use them, use them, use them. So if I'm talking to Haley on here, Haley Andrews, Glenn already got a shout out for your website, so awesome. So if I'm talking to Haley Andrews, and I don't know a lot of Haleys, and I'm trying to remember, Keston was a name I had a bunch of problems with. So when I'm trying to remember a name, if I shake your hand, I say, what's your name? And she goes, it's Haley. Haley, my name is Pip. Haley, what do you do for a living? Haley says she's a real estate investor. Haley, how long you been doing that? She says, I've been doing it 12 years. Well, Haley, do you have any family, kids, or whatever? Yeah, I have a husband named Paul, and I have a son. And so now what am I doing every time I ask her a question? Haley, Haley. I'm not shaking her hand each time. I'm just saying her name each time. Why do I say her name each time? Because that's how I remember it. Keston's was a tough name for me to remember, but I got it. It just takes a while. And so you just have to use the names. Is it uncomfortable? And one of the best ways to learn somebody's name is to call them by the wrong name. I know some of you guys are going, what? You'll never feel more uncomfortable than by finding out that you've been calling somebody by a wrong name for a while. Yeah. And so what's interesting about that is you say somebody's name, they'll eventually correct you, and you'll never forget their name again, and it'll be a story you talk about forever. Don't worry about looking dumb. I mean, I'm doing these Facebook live videos, and I'm squinting the entire time. My wife says you're squinting all the time because I'm trying to read, and I don't want to put on my glasses because then I feel even older. I should just do that, and I wouldn't squint as much. But the point being, Tanya, all the way from Vancouver, how are you, young lady? Tanya sends me a picture on the messenger, I don't know, a week or so ago, last week, whatever, and she sends me this picture, and she goes, we looked a lot younger. Well, that was 2012, so I know I looked younger 8 years ago. Tanya, you still, I'm sure, look just fine. It was Ned and I are the ones that look older. So that's what it comes down to. Is the point I want to make is what did I just do with Tanya right there? I brought her into the conversation. I used something that she sent to me. I even mentioned her husband's name. What is the worst case scenario? I say the wrong name for her husband. She says, my husband's name isn't Ned, it's John. Okay, we'll laugh about that. The one thing I learned doing stand-up comedy is you're going to look dumb a lot. You're going to be where you're not comfortable. I got on these Facebook Live videos last week because I knew I was going to be uncomfortable. And what I realized is I'm not uncomfortable because I now have people that I can talk to. My wife and kids are tired of me talking to them because they've heard all my jokes, they've heard all my stuff. So what I want to do is keep doing these, keep adding value. Guys, if you can make any comments about the value that's being added, I hope you can. That'd be helpful. If you want to send me any messages on Messenger, that would be great as well. What I want to do, great memory. No, it's not a great memory, Tanya. It's about caring. You know that as well as I do. You have customers, you're a realtor. You care about those customers. They take care of you, you take care of them. It's a two-way street. I appreciate the comment, though. And so the point I want everybody to always understand. You're welcome, Rebecca. I thought Rebecca was Rebecca, or Rebecca was Rebecca. You're from Philly, aren't you, Rebecca? Correct me if I'm wrong. I met you last year. I'm going to say summer of 2019, so like August of 2019 in Philadelphia. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can. Somebody asked me to tell the story of where my name Pip came from, so I'll tell it here. Glenn, I think, asked me last time. I'll tell it real quickly. Yes, Rebecca, that's awesome. And so I'll tell the story real quickly. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. My brother Bill is a year older than me. Bill is now 6'4", 300 pounds. He's a really big guy. He's always been way bigger than me. My older brothers like to give me a lot of grief. Now, I don't think my sister was ever involved with this, but my older brothers always would look at Bill and I, and Bill was a head taller than me. He was always a foot taller than me growing up. So growing up next to him, I looked like a pipsqueak. That's where the name came from pipsqueak. They even, and a few of you guys will remember this, some of you guys will have no idea what I'm talking about. If you remember the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, from probably the 70s, I'm going to say, they changed the words to that to make fun of me and the name Pip. And so what's interesting about that is they shortened it from Pip to Pip, or from Pipsqueak to Pip, and fast forward. My brothers always called me Pip. That was just the name they gave me. But fast forward to grade 4. I'm in a classroom. My real name is Mike. Now, what's funny, my sister, who is on this call, She was friends with my teacher at the time. I don't know where Miss DeWine is. I sure hope she's somewhere safe right now, because she was one of my favorite teachers. And I can't remember her first name. As I'm talking about, remember, Sandy, I think, is her first name. Sandy DeWine. Mitzi, correct me if I'm wrong on that. So Sandy DeWine was my fourth grade teacher. I'm in this class, and there are at least 6 Mikes in this class. Mike Barrett was in there. Mike Dode. I mean, just right on down the line, a whole bunch of Mikes. And so by the time the teacher got to me, she said, do you go by anything else other than Mike? Because Mike Stellick was the last Mike alphabetically. I said, my brothers all call me Pip. From then on out, every teacher every year called me Pip. Now, a lot of people tried to go back to Mike. I mean, somebody sent me a news press paper clipping from my senior year of high school. For my Canadians, that's my 12th grade year, because they don't use junior, senior. I just have fun with my Canadians on that. And so I got sent this newspaper clip. My mother-in-law was going through some old newspaper clips, and in the paper it actually said Mike, which I thought was interesting, because I think a lot of people thought I should still go by Mike since I'm older now or whatever. I've been with Pip ever since. So even at my high school graduation, Irv Friesen was our principal, and he's handing out the diplomas or saying the names. And he says, Michael Christopher, he says, I can't call you that. Pip Stellick, come up and get your diploma. That's just how, was it Sandra? Okay, well, I was close with Sandy then, wasn't I? That's my sister for me, just making sure I'm completely right. I appreciate that, Mitzi. And so the thing I want to say about that is that, and I don't even know where I'm going with this story other than the fact that some people want to know where my name came from, is if you try to take the time to learn about people, to remember things about them, they will be amazed when you go to ask them for the sale. Because some of you guys are asking me, how do I ask for the sale? You don't have to ask for the sale when you care about them. They'll ask you, how can you help me? How can your product, how can your service help me? So guys, I am already, gosh, this is the longest. I guess the next one is going to be 50 minutes, because each time they go a little bit longer. This is kind of funny. So please do me a favor, share this with anybody that you can. I know we got a bunch of shares last time. If you watch it on the recording and you're hearing me talk now, share it with other people, make comments. I've seen some people chime in and say hello. I apologize if I don't respond to every message, but I think what we're doing right now is let's get this content out to the UK. Yeah, the British people really need this stuff, Martin. They definitely do. And so I got to put my glasses back on. So, Pip, how do you emanate and projects? I don't know what the word emanate means, but I'm going to say that gives out, I guess. Is that a British word, emanate? And my sister's going to die when I'm not real good with the verbiage. So anyway, how do I do it, Glenn? I think it's called passion. I get asked that question all the time. I would do 3-day presentations and talk for 8 to 9 hours a day. Baz is going to say I'd talk for 10 to 11, but that's okay. I would talk for a really long time, but my energy level never went down. In fact, I would make a joke on Friday morning. I'd say, if you think my energy level is high now, you should see me by Sunday afternoon. And why would I do that? Because by Sunday afternoon, my energy level will be even higher. I think that's 2 reasons. The first reason is there's passion. When you love doing something, it's going to show through. It's going to show through. If anybody is on Instagram, I'm now on Instagram. I want some more followers because I don't even know what that all means, but I think it's pretty cool. And so on Instagram, I put a quote out there. It says, make sure you light yourself on fire, because other people will come around to see you burn. Just set the world on fire with your energy, and other people are just going to be, what the heck is going on with this guy? And so if you have that kind of energy, people are going to want to surround you with that. So I think, Glenn, in answering your question is, how do you do it? Is because you care. You got passion about what you do, so you care about what you do. But I think what it also comes down to, you say honesty, is really making sure you understand that what you say can affect people. You can either build people up or you can drag them down. And my whole goal with all this is not to drag anybody down, is to build people up. So if you can even get 0.1% of some value out of this, I'm hoping. Say my name again. Okay, Haley, I'll say your name again, Haley. And so why do I remember Haley's name? Is because you keep remembering it, you keep saying it. But the point is, if you can bring value and help people And don't do it in a negative way. I've seen too many people. I work with some really cool people. I'll shout some people out here, people that I liked and people that I didn't like. No, I better not. I won't do that. I can't be mean on here. But I worked with some people that were really cool, and then I worked with some other people who thought they were really cool. And there's a big difference there. There's a huge difference between thinking you're cool and being cool. And so I don't think I'm cool. I think I'm far from it. And I know some of you guys would agree with that 1,000,000%. The point I want to make, though, is as long as you are providing value, as long as you're helping people get from where they're at to where they want to be as a transportation business, if you do that with enthusiasm, you do it with caring, and you do it with a real desire to help, that's sales. I know some of you guys don't think you're in sales. That's sales 101, is helping people. Every coach is in sales. Every music teacher, every other teacher is in sales every day. Don't look at that as a dirty word. That is something we need to do. And I think I said on Friday, sales is a 5-letter word, but so is serve. What we want to learn to do, and I'm going to have to get down with this over 45 minutes, is called compassionate selling. I should probably somehow trademark that term, compassionate selling, because I grew up and everybody wanted to just shove their sales stuff down my throat. That made me want to go the other direction. My sister and I have had conversations about this. You can sell people anything because people want stuff. They want to buy stuff from you. They want products that you have. And if you do, they want ideas that you have. But if you're just trying to jam it down their throat, they're not going to take it. And that's politics, that's religion, that's education, that's everything. So I think as long as you're providing value, you do it with care, you do it with compassion, you'll be amazed that the response of people are going to get you. So how do you remember names? We talked a lot about that today. What I want to do on our next Facebook Live, let's put a time down. I'm going to try to, I should probably look at my calendar. Let's do an early one on Wednesday. Let's do an early one on Wednesday. Wednesday, what I'm going to do, and I know it'll be too early for some of you guys. My UK guys, it'll be better time frame. And I know my wife will be like, you're looking at your calendar again. Well, I got to know what I'm doing before I make a time frame. So let's plan on 9:15 Central Time, a.m., Wednesday morning. We're going to do our next Facebook Live. On that Facebook Live, I'm going to talk a little bit more about leading and linking all this stuff together. You're going to see that it kind of all flows together. We're going to be talking a lot about sales. The point being is it's not always about putting money in your pocket. It's about making sure you're helping other people get what they want, and then they'll pay you for those services. So please share this video with other people. Please make sure that you're making comments in both the chat and also send me messages on the Facebook Messenger. I think I just had a phone call with some marketing people right before I did this. And it sounds like I'm going to, because they didn't know I was doing this Facebook Live stuff. And they said, hey, you can probably reach more people if you do this. And there's going to be something with sending an email or having something in the chat box and then getting a message on the messenger. I don't know how it all works because I don't know how all this stuff works. But I would like to be in contact with you more, provide more value, whatever I can do. There's going to be a lot more videos, and hopefully we'll get to the Zoom level on this as well. So as I said on my Friday call, I'm going to try to end the day with this every time, or in the Facebook Live with this every time. And like I said, I always told people, turn to the person beside you and say you're going to be all right. Go out, find somebody in your life, somebody you like, somebody you love, somebody you dislike, and just tell them you're going to be all right, because I think that's what we all need. So tell Wednesday, 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you're out there helping each other out, doing what you can. Remember names by listening. We're going to talk a lot more about serving as we go through this. So, guys, have a great day. We will see you Wednesday, 9:15 Central Standard Time. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.